Hi, I'm Johan, CEO of Zelf. I'm here with me is Miguel.
Hi, I'm the CTO of Zelf.
So we're here introducing Zelf and the product Zelf Name Service. Everything started back in 2017 when I met with Miguel. We've been working on different startups from cloud kitchens to mobility apps, and now we're focused into Web 2 and Web 3 security systems. So Miguel can contribute some information on what we're working on.
Yeah, so right now we have two companies that are focusing on security. Right now we have one that is named Verific, which is on the Web 2, and Zelf, which is going to focus mainly on the Web 3 solutions at the moment, which fully encrypts the information, relying more on the user's device and more on the self-custody instead of relying on companies and centralized servers.
So everything started back in 2014 when I first purchased my first Bitcoin. And that was like a hustle for me. Like nobody knew about this, and I was like on the fringes of like these groups of people trying to buy and sell Bitcoin. And that's how I started. How do you start with crypto, Miguel?
I remember that you told me roughly 2016, 2017, he told me to start getting into the crypto ecosystem and try to check out the new coins that they were listed, right? At the moment, there were now like thousands of coins that we have at the moment, like so many coins to real. But I started taking it seriously when we went to Cancun on the DevCon
3. DevCon 3.
No, it was DevCon 3 Cancun. So we went there, and I remember you took a photo with Vitalik.
Yeah, I took a photo with Vitalik. I'll show you eventually on this video. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took it seriously at the moment, and then we started getting our journey on crypto that day.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember back then, people were like just like like getting their MetaMask wallet. It was the more mainstream wallet at the time, and still is one of the most mainstream ones.
They were talking about it on that time.
Yeah, they made a presentation on it, and I remember it was big and everything. And but now you see it's like there's so many more wallets, but they all follow in the same architecture, right?
Yeah. At the moment, like every wallet that you download, they tell you, okay, this is your 12 words. Write them down, don't miss them. And then I think these days they're introducing like passkeys, but then remember you're trusting like your provider, which is either iCloud or Google storage. So even if you store them there, they're not fully encrypted because there's so many hacks. Even MetaMask published on Twitter that you should not do a backup on iCloud.
Yeah.
You don't want your assets to be lost.
Yeah, that's right. So like then 2024 came in like this year, and I thought I had like survival crypto. Like we've seen the ups and downs, like FTX going down. Then you have this protocol from Korea. No, from Korea. Terra protocol collapsing, and then you have like smaller exchanges from like Quadriga from Canada. You've seen it all. And I was like, okay, I think like I know how to navigate through this. Like I've been in the market since 2014. It's been like 10 years. I cannot do anything wrong, And then 2024 came in, and I had like a notification on my phone, and then I checked it, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, what's going on? And I saw that there was a transaction leaving my wallet. And I was like, what's going on? And I was like, I ran into the computer, checked it out. I couldn't figure out what happened. Then the following morning I called you, and I was like, hey man.
That was too late.
Yeah, it was too late, but I couldn't do anything. But then we started looking into it, and I couldn't find a reason of why I got hacked. I got my money drained, and it was an old wallet. And I always kept like all these seed phrase in a USB that was like most of the time offline. So I was like, and until today, I still don't know what happened to it. Like, it could be many things. It could be breached by doing a backup because it was my first time having an iPhone. So I did a backup, but when I noticed is that I got the seats were breached before and after the backup, like by 1 week. So it could be something that I did wrong,
Maybe an app.
and then or it could be an app that I downloaded, because right now you have lots of companies that are introducing spyware into like video games and stuff like that. So it could be like a small.
Even the web extensions, if you analyze how a web extension is built, they can read what you type on every browser page, and they can track everything, so they can connect easily to the Web3. So at that moment, we are kind of like sacrificing security for the nice user experience of every user.
And convenience, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, fortunately, with Zelf, we're actually bridging those two. We're bringing security without sacrificing user experience or convenience. So we have actually merged those two, security and convenience, and that's what we're going to be talking about in these series of videos. So after sharing these testimonies and analogies of what the crypto market has been in the last 10 years, we're here to introduce you what Zelf Name Service is and how it applies to the real world. So Miguel, can you tell us, like, at an individual level, like when a person, like an individual, a human being, creates a wallet with Zelf Name Service, how is that different to like MetaMask or like Trust Wallet, the current architectures?
Yeah, so we started with the same idea as every single wallet that exists on the market, so the user doesn't get lost on how the process works, right? So we added an extra layer, a layer that goes prior everything that you already know, which is the security layer. So at the moment that you create a wallet, you first have to like decide what name you want to link to your wallet, so it's easy for you to remember it. So let's say your name like John, Johan, Miguel, etc. So if you remember your name, you can remember your wallet. So instead of remembering the whole 12 words, so if we go back to how crypto and how the wallets work, you will realize that they created the 12 words or the 24 words so people can easily write them down.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that converts to a private key, which is really hard to remember. So we are kind of like going even further on the mechanism of saving your wallet by creating a ZelfProof. So the ZelfProof gets generated along with your self name. So once it's created, you don't have to write the 12 words down. Or the 24, depending on how you create it, right? So you don't have to remember it. You just have to put your face, and then it gets unlocked.
Okay, so that's very interesting. But so you're saying pretty much we allowed clients to put their name. So it's like it's like the Ethereum name service, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar to Ethereum name service in that sense. So people are eventually gonna subscribe and purchase like a domain, right? And that's like the name part, right? And then you mentioned about self-proof. What exactly is a self-proof?
Yeah, the self-proof is kind of like representation of your wallet using the biometric data, but without storing the biometric data in any databases. So in a traditional world, the face maps of every company that does biometrics, they need to store it, so they create vectors.
Yeah.
So those vectors are compared one to one.
Yeah.
So on our tech, we don't have to store any vector at all.
Yeah.
So that face becomes your private key.
Absolutely.
Your face is your key at the end of the day. So we added the traditional password. So even though people can encrypt everything with their face, we add more layers so it becomes more secure. Okay. So at the end of the day, that self-proof is like a big hash that can be saved everywhere you want, because it becomes your public key. Yeah. So your private key is your password and your face. So that's the self-proof.
Okay, so technically self-proof is a zero knowledge proof plus the face.
Yeah.
So it's the first time that a zero knowledge proof is bridged with biometrics, right?
Exactly.
And it creates a root of trust in the biometric aspect of things, because you have like hardware root of trust with a phone, right? But then we have created a biometric root of trust because it's only linked to the face of the individual that created the wallet.
Exactly. Like traditional ways, like passkeys, which was named differently before, but that Apple rebranded it. they store the face in your device. So they compare it and the information gets decrypted.
Yeah.
But in our case, you can have your ZelfProof stored anywhere.
Yeah.
You can use either your computer or any other phone, and the information gets decrypted. Because it can work either online or offline.
Okay.
Why offline? Because we want to make sure that people really trust our software, that nobody can access it, not even us, and not even somebody who's connected to the network, because nothing gets transmitted on the internet.
Okay. So what does actually happen on the offline? Like, is it like encryption, decryption? What is it?
Yeah, we use the same algorithm that Bitcoin does on encryption. We use elliptic curve cryptography. So at that moment, we imagine this like a lock. So once we encrypt something, your private key or your key that opens that lock is your face. So we throw that away. So we don't know which face was linked to that ZelfProof.
Okay.
So which makes it irreversible. So you cannot track it. You can know which face was fully encrypted at the beginning, or which face can't really decrypt it.
So you cannot do back engineering on this.
No.
Backward engineering, yeah.
So at the moment that we generate it, we make sure that that information is not present. So only when you wanna do it at the moment that you open your phone, we generate another key that might fit that lock, and we try to open it.
Okay.
But if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
Okay, so let me just like rephrase all this. So pretty much, okay, so the individual will go, like they purchase the domain, right? That self name, and then the ZelfProof is linked to this name, right?
Yes.
But where do you store it? Because people, you're saying we don't use a pen and pencil, right? How do they store it?
Yeah, that problem is started where like, okay, people has to store this ZelfProof somewhere.
Yeah.
So first, we went through a process of like, how can we help the end user to do it in an easy way without sacrificing the experience? So first we stored it in a QR code. Okay, we were like, okay, save this QR code. Okay, what if I lose it? It's like, okay, what can we do with that? So we start exploring ideas. So the solution that we came up with is that we use an interplanetary file system, which is IPFS.
Okay.
It's a peer-to-peer connection between people. So it doesn't use a centralized server, so it becomes a decentralized solution. So at the end, we don't use databases for the face. We don't use databases for storing your ZelfProof, which is a QR code now. So based on that, the whole thing can work without internet.
Okay. So we have IPFS. Any other protocol that we can be using besides IPFS? Maybe people would like some more alternative.
Yeah, so we're exploring some partnerships at the moment. So Arweave is one of them. Arweave is like a file system like IPFS. So Arweave can do the same thing, but it can give us the flexibility that every protocol does, which gives you a transaction. So you have the peace of mind that it was stored at that time, the file is there,
it's time spent,
and then you can go back and track it, how it was done, and it can keep that file for over 200 years. That's what Arweave.
Very interesting. So like all this architecture obviously is for self-custody. But let's say I am a guy that I keep my money with the big exchanges, the Coinbases, the Binances. Like, can this architecture be migrated into like a Web 2 architecture, like centralized exchange, like the ones that I just mentioned?
For sure. I'll say that everyone gets scared these days, like, oh, they're investigating KuCoin, and then you right away transfer all your funds to your private wallet. So it's like, I do that. I get scared every Twitter.
Everybody checking on Twitter is like, when is the alert? The alert.
Yeah, like, oh, they're investigating USDT, and then you're like, where do I move my money, right?
Yeah.
So the exchanges control your money at the end of the day, right? So they can decide to freeze it. So you lose all your assets. But if we offer this architecture to maybe Binance can create every wallet that is linked to a ZelfProof.
Yeah.
So they only have access to the public information of the ZelfProof, which is like the public address of Ethereum or Bitcoin, etc. And it gets decrypted every time they want to use it, the customer.
Yeah.
So the exchange itself, they don't have access to their funds.
Okay.
So they can have their own wallet that has everything on the trading pairs, and then once it needs to be transferred to every user, they transfer to that ZelfProof itself.
Okay, so like so imagine I go into like Binance, and then there's like the self-custody account, and then I'll transfer the funds into the exchange, and then I do the trades, and then I send it back into the Zelf wallet within the architecture of Binance. That's how we will hypothetically look like.
Yeah, even Binance can implement their main wallet that stores all their Bitcoin or all their USDT, for example.
Okay.
They can have it with multiple people sign it as ZelfProof. So imagine that there's 4 people responsible for transferring funds between wallets to wallets, right? They can have them put their face, so they have maybe 4 words each person. So at the end it combines the 4 of them, and they can transfer all the funds with authorization of the 4 people.
So you're talking about multi-signature?
Yes.
Okay. So how is that different to the current multi-signature, or how is that equal? Is that the same architecture, or can you elaborate on that?
We kind of like I'll add a layer on that. So the multi-signature use either smart contracts to sign something, so they can have at least 1 or 4 or 2 or 4 to send a transaction.
Yeah.
We can make the same thing by not providing the private keys of each wallet that is connected to that mechanism. So the only way to decrypt a wallet that is connected to the multi-sig is by putting their face. It gets encrypted. I don't access those words that are encrypted. I don't have access to my private wallet on signing that. That way we keep it secure, so they don't have that possibility of moving funds without everyone being
inconsistent.
Inconsistent.
Okay. Okay, interesting. So we talk about so how this solves the issue of self-custody in the individual level and into the enterprise level as well. Exactly. So this is very significant. I think one of the most recent growth in wallet architecture is being from Safe Wallet. Safe Wallet is only multi-signature, isn't it? Am I right? There are only multi-signature wallets, and mostly for enterprise. But we're bringing a solution that is web agnostic. It could be used for Web 2 and Web 3, and it could be used for either enterprise or individuals, right?
Exactly.
So pretty much we have created something that is being expected for quite a while. Many people, they've been looking for something like this, and we're very proud to launch this into the market, because we believe that this is gonna bring actually the adoption that Satoshi envisioned. Satoshi on his Bitcoin wallet, he envisioned a peer-to-peer cash system, right? And when we talk about peer-to-peer cash, is for the masses. And we believe that we have the answer for mass adoption and bring crypto to the 8 billion people or the 7.5 billion people that still don't have access to it, right?
Exactly, because right now everyone uses the traditional way of buying crypto, which is on the exchanges, but nobody cares about that next step. Okay, I made money on crypto, how can I keep it safe?
Yeah.
There's alternatives of the cold wallets, but the cold wallets, when you purchase them online, you have the risk that the seller can manipulate that device, and they can know what safe private key was stored there, and they can seal it again. We have seen cases of that, like if you buy your maybe Trezor or any other
Ledger,
the Ledger, which is more popular on America. If you buy it on Amazon, you don't know if in the Amazon seller opened
it's been compromised. Yeah, they do that all the time. So we're mitigating all the risk of hardware wallets, of current hot wallets, and even centralized exchange like Binance and Coinbase. So this is a breakthrough in cryptocurrency technology and cryptography technology, I would say. And we're very proud that we're bringing sovereignty to the individual. That's what we call it, Zelf. Zelf is Dutch for self. Yeah. So we bring self-sovereignty to 8 billion people, and we're very excited to launch this product.
Thank you.
Thanks. So recently, I finished a book called Life After Capitalism, authored by Gilder. He's one of the biggest think tanks in current history of technology in the Americas. And one of the quotes that really caught my attention was that, as you guys probably know, Metcalfe's law represents the value of a network by the square root of the nodes, right? So like, this is how back in the day, let's say back 100 years ago, if we had like a telecommunication company, the way you will measure the value of the telecommunication company was by the square root of the amount of nodes, or in this case, telephones, right? Yeah. So if we had like 1,000 lines that we sold, or 1,000 numbers that we sold, so then you square that, and that will be the value of the company, pretty much speaking, right? And that's what has been the rule of thumb in the current architecture, like Facebook, Twitter, all these companies, they follow almost the same law. But Gilder in this book, he mentioned that there's also a second law of Metcalfe law, which he calls it like the inverse, and he talks about the vulnerabilities of a network. So he concluded in this book that the vulnerabilities of a network is also equal to the nodes squared. So he's saying that all these the risk vector and vulnerability vector of a company increases substantially or exponentially as they grow as well, because they have the risk of getting hacked through different vectors. It could be from the individual person that is building, like opening an account, and they are the hacker, or they get hacked, right? So there's so many risk involved in this world where we're migrating to Web3. So I would like Miguel to explain how our technology is different to current architectures, because people are saying, okay, these guys are using like face biometrics. How is this different to face biometrics? Let's start with that.
Yeah. So the traditional biometrics companies that you guys know, like Face Tech,
iProof,
like
there's so many companies out there.
So many. Like when we went to the Identity Week in Washington
DC, yeah.
We saw a lot of the companies, but they had the same common denominator, which was that they had their own SDK that was connected to a server, which was connected to a database, which they have different ways of storing the biometric data that keep it safe.
Yeah.
Some of them use vectors only. They don't use photos. Which is the more secure way on the traditional way of doing things, but it has the same risk. You can do a reverse engineering of that and then recreate a photo, and then you can give access to somebody in every platform that they're connected to. So why we're different? Because at the moment that we talk to all the companies that use these traditional biometric companies, we tell them that we don't use databases, so we don't compare anything that it was stored previously. So in this case, if you want access to a bank and the bank give you access to a self-proof, the self-proof is stored on your end. So even if they hack somebody who has the self-proof, if they manage to replicate the face and they manage to guess the password and do all those combinations, they can only hack one person. Even though it's not hackable at the moment, because the full encryption that we do, we cannot track who created this or who has the ownership of that self-proof. So by doing a lot of if and ifs, people can only hack only one person, not the whole ecosystem or the whole bank, and the whole information that is stored in the bank is not fully reliant on the servers of the bank. Is we rely on the user itself.
Okay, so yeah, so we're allowing the individual to store the information on the fringes, like of the of cloud, let's say, because they're now storing this into current cloud architectures.
Exactly. They're just proving that you are that person who's accessing the bank at the moment that you're doing the login.
Okay, so but I would like you to mention, okay, so what is really the breakthrough of like the zero knowledge phase proof? Like, what have we done? Like, like we have pretty much allow people to store their sensitive data and store it on their own terms, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But to get more technical on that, we have to analyze this more on the privacy area. So the regulations that happens on the banking systems and all the banks and all the fintechs and even insurance companies, they have to rely on every regulations that is on their countries. So for example, GDPR
in Europe,
or doing the ISO,
like
all those regulations, right? So you have to rely on how they manage the information. So we make sure that we have everything open source, so they know that we don't manipulate the information of every people accessing our software. So you know that we don't manipulate the face vectors. We just use the face data to create a ZelfProof, and we just use the face data to decrypt the ZelfProof. But we don't manipulate it, we don't store it, and we don't do anything besides the encryption and decryption.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. So now that we have clarified how our biometrics is different and how we don't store any data, right? We don't have any servers or any databases where this could be breached by a hacker. How is this different to URcodes? Because recently the CEO of FaceTech launched an architecture that he claimed to be is going to be changing the way IDs are issued on a global basis. How is the zero knowledge face proof different to the URcodes launched by FaceTech?
Yeah, based on the architecture that I saw on their website, their QR code is fixed, which means it's limited by size, so they cannot put as many information as they want. And the most important thing, and which will work in many governments, is that they use vectors inside the QR code. We don't use any vectors inside a ZelfProof, which it can be implemented on any government, on the passports or getting into an airport. Anything that relies on privacy, we check all the boxes.
Okay, very interesting. So like they're also dependent on databases.
And they say that they can work also offline, but what they do is that they have a face vector storing the first part of the QR code, so they do a one-to-one comparison, so they can decrypt it. So in our case, we don't do one-to-one because we don't have any face stored on the ZelfProof, which makes us very different.
Okay, so they're storing sensitive data. We're not storing any sensitive data of the data subjects. And that's why we can comply much better to European standards of GDPR.
Exactly.
Our clients can come in and they're very safe. They can just adopt our technology, integrate it into their architecture, and then be GDPR compliant because they're not storing any sensitive data from their data subjects.
Exactly,
Okay.
and they can store in URcodes. You can only store, like, I would say, very small part of your information, very little kilobytes.
Yeah.
But in a ZelfProof, you can store photos, even a video on it.
Oh wow, that's a breakthrough on like zero knowledge proof as well. So that's very interesting. Okay, so now we would like to talk about the different use cases of this technology, because since we're allowing the end user to utilize a zero knowledge face proof, and they're not, and then the architecture itself is not saving any sensitive data, because that's pretty much the breakthrough that we done. So what kind of use cases do you see more common besides crypto? Because crypto is huge. Crypto is huge, but we just want to let the audience, this is not only for crypto. We just happen to utilize this for crypto because we've been in the crypto market for a while, and we saw the huge necessity of this. But what other use cases do you see that can be implemented since this is web agnostic? Anybody in Web 2 and Web 3 can use it.
Yeah. So just to give you a little more context on the crypto side, there's companies who created protocols on the CK snarks. So the CK snarks are something very similar to what we do, but we offer a privacy in a personal area that help us to say you are the owner of that information and only you can access it. A CK snark, like in crypto, can only encrypt information, and then it gives you the proof. So the proof is something that you will provide to the blockchain, and it will tell you, hey, is this, maybe for example, you want to prove that you are 18 plus, right? Yeah. To access a website, for example. So when you provide that CK proof, it tells you, yes, you are 18 plus, but it doesn't help us to realize that, yes, that's a real person doing it. Yes, that's an encryption that was done only for you. Yeah. And it cannot be shared across multiple computers or devices or even people. So on the Web 2, there's a lot of use cases that we can talk about. One of the things that I was talking to my team is that we can replace password management tools that offer web extensions that they can help you to save the passwords for maybe Netflix, Facebook, etc., so that you can access easily on the computer. But again, if you know how they're built, they encrypt everything with a master password, and the master password is stored in a server, so they can go into like maybe a tree of decisions of where is stored the password of Netflix in that case for you. But at the end of the day, we are relying on a company to store all those passwords of Netflix or your banks, so you don't have to remember them in a centralized way.
Yeah, that's the issue that happened with LastPass. LastPass was pretty shit. They hacked like a year ago or something, and it was the biggest hack of a password manager company, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So you are relying on that. So imagine we replace that with a lot of URcodes, a lot of self-proofs that you don't know if that self-proof is for Netflix of my face to decrypt that password. So we offer a lot of layers of security that are not required to utilize a server. So even if you don't have internet connection, if you want to access something that maybe a lock that is in a vault inside your house, and you want to store that password in a safe way, you can do it as well.
Okay, interesting. So let's say LastPass wanted to migrate their architecture by adopting the self-proofs that we have created. How hard is that to be done? Like,
super easy. Like, we give them an interface where they just put their face, and after they give us like the domain and the password, and we encrypt it. So the full encryption happens on the device, so it doesn't touch any server. So every time they want to access it, they just provide us that QR code, which we have public information stored in the self-proof that can help us to link to maybe Netflix or Facebook, etc. So we can search them in your repository of all the self-proof that you have, and then we match the one that has the public information of Netflix in this case, and then we ask for a password if it requires a password, or we put a face alone, because in this case you're not managing assets, so it will only require your face to encrypt the password.
Exactly. Okay, so that's very interesting. So it's obviously a better architecture than current ones, and it could be migrated like maybe in a few weeks or something, or less. Okay. Exactly. So what other use cases do you see? Like, I see a big one on open banking, because I see that, for example, we are allowing the bank user, the bank account owner, to store their data, their sensitive data, and only share the information that they want to share, right? Because current architecture in open banking is like you're just giving all your data to the other third party that wants it, or who's gonna give you a better service or requires it for some reason. So right here, we're just like enabling the end user to share the data they want through this zero knowledge proof type of technology, and we're pretty much like bringing more privacy to the end user, to the data subject, which is not happening right now in current open banking architectures. Because I was talking to one of our advisors. He was saying that open banking right now is broken, and the reason it's broken is because there's no privacy. It's open, but it's not private, right? Okay. So like all the end users of the data subjects are just like sharing all the information, and this information can be hacked as well. Just like the same way LastPass was hacked or breached, any bank could be breached by allowing the users to share the data to other third parties, right? So what other use cases do you see besides open banking and password managers?
If we go more on the retail or entertainment, we can help Ticketmaster in this case.
Okay. How can you help them?
You know that when you purchase a ticket, that ticket becomes your pass to get into maybe stadium or somewhere. By scanning that QR code, it gives you access, and then it revokes the access for a second usage. So people can try to steal those and get into the stadium first. Yeah. And then once you want to reach to the entrance and provide your ticket, it has already been used. Yeah. So we can either tell Ticketmaster that they can use our technology to generate every ticket fully encrypted with a face, so you cannot transfer it to somebody without having your permission. Okay. That way you know for sure the person who purchased the ticket, maybe to see Shakira or whatever, right? Yeah. So you want to go there, it's really for you. Yeah.
So we technically with this technology, you're solving ticket resells.
Oh, that's well. Like when you go to a soccer match, people buy like hundreds of those tickets, and when you go to the entrance, they want to resell those tickets for like 10 times the value. Yeah. But once the game has started, those people are losing money, and they want to sell it for even less of the money that they purchased it. But they're like removing the opportunity of everyone to access to a ticket so they can see the game. So they're doing profit over the profit of going to see a match.
Yeah. But I wanted to add on like the fact, like let's say you buy a ticket, right? Yeah. You want to resell it. The current issue is that if I was gonna buy you the ticket, there's no way of me proving that ticket was actually a legitimate ticket.
That as well.
So then you can through our protocol or through our technology, you can transfer the ticket to me, and then I can verify that actually was a true ticket, legitimate ticket, and then I can be with peace of mind and go on and like enjoy the venue, this venue or whatever, or play match, whatever it was.
Exactly. Yeah, we're talking about a legit reselling ticket. Yeah. But so we're solving all the issues of reselling it for a profit, and also passing it to somebody who can actually attend it, because I have some other issues and I cannot go, right?
Okay, interesting. Anything you want to add on this, on like everything we talk about technology, how it's different to current biometrics, how we allow data subjects to store their data and it's not stored on a current database architecture, how we're different to URcodes from FaceTake, the different use cases like open banking, ticket sales, and password managers. Anything you want to add on?
I would say that we are focusing on to the end user at the moment, right? On all these use cases. But if we go to enterprise solutions, we can offer this solution to have many layers of security. So let's say you want to sell it to a bank itself for their login or authentication system. They can add more layers of security of like geolocation or time of accessing. You can deprive the user to only access that self-proof only for that bank itself, and not other people accessing to our tech because we're open source. They cannot decrypt it because they're missing a third key. So we have to remember that the main key is a face. The second key, which is optional, is a password. And we can add a third layer of security for the enterprise, which is we call it a master key. So that key is shared across all the people inside the bank. So the self-proof, the generation of self-proofs can only work for that bank.
Okay.
And not another application.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Well, so I think we have touched like different subjects from technology to use cases, and I hope that this brings more or sheds more light into what we're doing with Zelf. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.